In April 2021, a single line on an American sanctions list erased roughly 40% of this company's revenue. Overnight, its biggest customer, gone. No appeal, no wind-down period, no goodbye. The stock collapsed. Most companies never recover from losing their biggest customer. This one did something stranger. It rebuilt itself on the other side of the same chip war, and today it designs the chip Amazon is betting its AI future on. This is Alchip, the Taiwanese architect behind Amazon's Trainium, and the quiet story of how one company got a second life. First, what does an ASIC design service company actually do? The cloud giants all want custom silicon now, chips tuned for their own AI workloads, cheaper than NVIDIA's. But wanting a chip and building one are very different things. Between an architecture team's idea and working 3-nanometer silicon sits a mountain of brutal, specialized work. Physical design, time enclosure, packaging, test, and managing TSMC's most advanced processes. That mountain needs hundreds of engineers who do nothing else. Alchip, founded in 2003 in Taipei, is one of the world's best at exactly that. Its customers keep the architecture, the crown jewels. Alchip turns it into silicon that actually works at the leading edge, on schedule. Think of it as the architect of record for other people's dream buildings. To understand why this company is built the way it is, you need April 2021. Alchip's biggest customer back then was Fidium, a Chinese CPU designer that at its peak drove roughly 40% of revenue. Then Washington added Fidium to the entity list, over links to military supercomputing. The consequences were immediate. Alchip had to halt shipments, nearly half its business, gone between one trading day and the next. The stock cratered. Here's the part that matters. The company didn't wait for the rules to soften. It pivoted, hard, toward North America, toward the cloud giants just starting to design their own AI silicon. Within a few years, North American customers dominated its revenue, led by one very big name: Amazon. The lesson Alchip learned in the harshest way possible, that a single whale customer can vanish overnight, is also the setup for everything that came next, because its new whale is bigger than the old one ever was. That whale is AWS. Amazon's answer to NVIDIA is its Trainium line, in-house AI training chips designed by its Annapurna Labs team. And for the newest generation, Trainium 3, the company doing the physical design and the package design, reportedly as the lead partner, is Alchip. Built on TSMC's 3-nanometer process with CoWoS advanced packaging, shipping since June, with full mass production in the second half of this year. The scale is hard to overstate. Morgan Stanley estimates Amazon's CoWoS wafer orders jump from 5,000 wafers last year to 70,000 this year, a 13-fold explosion. More than 1.5 million Trainium chips could ship in 2026. If that lands, AWS takes roughly 6% of the global AI chip market, behind only NVIDIA and Google, and this single project could be worth around $3 billion in revenue to Alchip, with estimates running twice that if demand keeps climbing. 5 years after sanctions nearly broke it, Alchip's biggest customer is the biggest cloud on Earth. Now, the strangest chart in Taiwanese tech this year. In the first half of 2026, Alchip's revenue fell by half compared to last year, and its gross margin hit a record high, above 50%. Both are true, and both are the same story. Design service revenue breathes in cycles. Design fees first, high margin, then production revenue, at much thinner margins when chips ramp. The first half was the inhale, engineering fees for Trainium 3 while the old generation wound down. The second half is the exhale as 3-nanometer production explodes. But here's the deeper point about this business model. Broadcom, the giant of custom AI silicon, runs gross margins roughly twice Alchip's, and that gap is precisely Alchip's weapon. It doesn't sell its own competing IP. It doesn't demand architectural control. The customer owns the design, completely. For a cloud giant whose whole point is escaping dependence on expensive chip vendors, hiring the cheaper, neutral architect isn't a compromise. It's the entire strategy. Now the cracks, and they rhyme with history. First, the whale problem is back. Amazon reportedly accounts for over half of Alchip's revenue. The company that learned in 2021 what happens when one customer disappears has rebuilt itself around one customer. Second, the giants are circling. Broadcom is reported to be entering the Trainium supply chain for future generations, and Marvell fights for every socket. When a project gets this big, the customer wants second sources. Tame, Amin, Saim, and rivals want in. Third, competition from home. GUC, the design house TSMC itself invested in, and Faraday chase the same wave. Fourth, the revenue whiplash you just saw cuts both ways. Project-based income means every generation is a re-audition, and a lost socket shows up as a cliff. Fifth, NVIDIA is not standing still. Opening NVLink to custom chips is a bid to keep the giants inside its ecosystem even when they build their own silicon. And after the stock's huge run, the market has already priced in a flawless second half. Any slip in the ramp, and the chart remembers 2021. So here is the verdict. What the crash proved is the moat. Alchip survived losing 40% of its revenue because execution at the leading edge is rare, portable, and always in demand. 3-nanometer silicon is shipping on schedule. 2-nanometer tape-outs are coming. The neutrality is real, too. In a world where every cloud wants to own its silicon, the contractor who does not compete with you is exactly who you hire. But hold the other side honestly. This is a hired guns business. No IP royalties compounding quietly year after year, revenue that breathes in violent cycles, one customer above half of sales, and giants with twice the margins deciding whether to crush the price or buy the socket. The architect gets paid for the building, not the rent. That is the whole trade, the beauty and the fragility of it in one sentence. None of this is investment advice. It is a map of where the pressure sits. But as redemption stories in silicon go, this one is hard to beat. If stories like this change how you read the AI chip war, subscribe. This channel walks the supply chain one quiet company at a time from the actual semiconductor industry view. And tell me in the comments which company you want opened up next. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.